What's going on, traders? Welcome to the channel. My name's John. That's Groot. We trade options here. So covered a nice trade today, 33% gain, and I entered in the morning, closed out before lunch, and enjoyed that profit, but I put it into Palantir. So I'm going to cover that as well. And then we're going to talk about Tesla. I think we're looking at a big month in general for a couple of these stocks, but there's some key things we want to watch. And I also have a nice buy zone that I'm watching. So I will mark that off for you to check out. And then also we want to look at the VIX and the S&P 500. There are things that have happened now that did not happen all year. So this is interesting. We're getting a new territory, and I will talk about what we should maybe expect. And just always remember, keep your risk in check. So let's dive in. Alrighty, we are in the platform and just going to show you the trade I took today in Mara. The trade is MARA. And basically I ended up doing a covered call here. I have 300 shares, so I figured I'd at least put 100 shares at risk here to try and make some money. And what I did is, as Mara started shooting up higher, we got to about $51 or so a share. I told myself in the morning it was time to basically take in some premium. So I sold the 60 strike call, and I took in $315 of premium. I had two options here. I could basically wait until 416, which is a couple weeks away, and basically let that expire worthless if we don't exceed $60 a share. Or the other alternative was close it out if I'm making money, and that's what happened. So basically the value of the call I sold dropped, and I pocketed that premium difference here from 315 to 210. So that's 105. Yeah, it's 105, and it's about 33% in profits. And collecting that in a day is great, because what I can do now is just reset, and if Mara shoots higher tomorrow, I'll do the same thing again. I'll put another 100 or maybe 200 shares at risk. I do think Bitcoin has an opportunity to go higher, and so for that reason I don't want to put all my shares at risk. I like to leg in and take premium as I can, and so really just kind of a short-term conviction and just collecting income from this trade. But what I did from there is I actually did end up buying more shares in Palantir. I bought 10 shares, I believe, so you can see I'm starting to leg in quite a bit. I have almost 400 shares. I'm at 385 in terms of the share count, and I'm probably looking, once I get to about 500 shares, I'm just slowly laddering myself in here. Once I get to 500 shares, I'll probably be comfortable waiting and seeing how this moves. But as we go lower, I'll show you where I did a buy 10 shares, so that was $230. So I took in about 110 in profit today, 105, but I did a little more in terms of my long-term buy. So Palantir and Tesla, I'm more at about a longer term phase. It's about 5-year hold is where I'd say I'm at. So as I look into Palantir here, let's go to PLTR. You can see a couple key things. This support level has held quite well. We're about $20 to $21 a share. And we are now higher, though, at about 2307 is where the stock is now trading. So what I want to see happen is I want to see this level hold, the 21.15 or $20 a share. If we break below that, man, we're dropping into the teens somewhere. It might be like $16 a share or lower. So keep that in mind. If this goes, you definitely want to keep your risk in check. Don't follow my trades, just understand what I'm doing, and apply that same principle to trades of your own. And the key thing I'd say we want to watch for is, I'm going to go here on this chart. Let's create a trend line downward. So there's a lot of downward pressure you are seeing from this movement, right? Like right here. If I can get it, there we go. And so what has happened that I find interesting is we broke this on a day that there was kind of bounce back off support. That's really cool. That usually is a bullish sign typically. Okay, so keep that in mind. This just means we now have a higher probability of not following this downtrend lower. If we do, that's where I get nervous, because this support needs to hold or we break much lower below the $20 level. And so that is exactly what I'm watching. That's what I'm keeping my eye on. And that's why I'm not really that willing to keep going crazy on buying more and more shares. It does make sense for some people if we get to support and support keeps holding. because the next natural action is it would go much higher. But here's what I'm watching basically. Quarter is going to end soon, and Palantir is going to announce their earnings, and I want to see them announce that they are doing better. They've improved their cash position and their income and lowered their expenses, but I more so want to see how they're doing with customers. They had a pretty killer last quarter where they have signed many more customers that are non-governmental customers. So they're not getting as many contracts from the government as much as they're getting from outside sources like business to business type of transactions. And that's a big, big market. So if you can diversify your whole customer base, then you sort of strengthen your business further and further. So that is what I'm watching for in Palantir. If we go to Tesla, let's go TSLA. You will see a couple things. This trend line has held for a long time, basically about a year now. We're above a year, and this trend line has done very well as support to the upside, and recently has held quite well. So keep that in mind. It's looking good so far. And I bought a share here below 600, and then we went higher. I thought we were looking good, and then as it starts tanking again, I ended up adding more to my position as well. And so where I'm at now is I'm actually keeping my eyes on a really important buy box here. Let me mark it out so it's a little easier to see. There we go. Get the rectangle. Boom. So in essence, where I'm at is looking at this level here, anywhere from the 600 to like 650 through the month. So here's April right here. And essentially, as we're getting through April, I want to see us anywhere either sideways or higher. But if we go lower, I don't want to see us get below this trend line. And so anywhere in this area, I am planning on being a buyer of Tesla. So if we go any lower, I'm more than willing to purchase anywhere between the 600 and 650 mark there. Again, not financial advice, but check it out. So a few things I'd say we want to look for between Tesla and Palantir, and this is where it gets interesting. So I'm in Hypercharts. Shout out to Galileo and Hyperchange. This is great to see all the fundamentals of the business. And what I notice here, if you look at Palantir, you can see their operating income is massive. Like, they're losing money in a way. The reason they have these big red bars lately has been because they're actually paying their most precious asset, which is their employees. They gave a lot of them stock options, that kind of added to their expenses. But if you can see the market dropping, what are you going to hold on to? Something that doesn't look that good on paper, or a company with a really strong balance sheet, basically no debt, and they're not losing money quarter after quarter. That's kind of where the risk is here. And as we compare to, say, something like Tesla, let me just show you this. They have cars and revenue. They're going up quarter over quarter. Looks good. I like the direction of that line. But as we go here to their net income, looks good. It's been positive for quite a few quarters. And then most important to me is going to be this. So their cash flow looks good to the upside. Their capex is increasing a little bit, but I think that could be expected because they are investing in a lot of R&D, and I'm willing to accept that, knowing that the flywheel gets stronger and they're going to be making even more money down the line. So as this matures, maybe a year, 2, 3 years down the road, that is because of this capex increase in Tesla. And the other key thing I'm noticing is their cash. Look at this. It is just skyrocketed the last 2 quarters, and they've been raising capital with their stock price appreciation. They're making money from Bitcoin. I mean, it's insane. They're at almost $20 billion in cash. So if the market takes a dip like it did last month, I'm okay with this. I'm really willing to hold on to Tesla as long as the narrative hasn't changed. As long as we're not seeing a change in the economy where people aren't willing to buy cars, buy solar, buy batteries, as long as that is not present, then I'm not that worried. So that's really important, but let's check it out. So the other key thing I wanted to point out that is really important here is SPY. You're seeing we've reached new highs basically in the S&P 500 and massive trend. Volume is medium, so that's okay. I'm all right with this for now. But I'd like to see us keep going higher. and on higher volume than where we're trading at now. But you can see we've had what, a week in a row of just straight up days. So keep that in mind. Usually that's a sign that, hey, maybe we'll at least have a couple down days there. And as I go to the VIX, this is the volatility index. This I find the most interesting. So the volatility index is sort of inverse the indexes in general. So when the VIX goes higher, this basically means the S&P 500 is actually dropping. And so there's this big drop in March because of the pandemic, and each time we had dropped, the market goes higher, but as the VIX shoots higher, the market corrects. And this is an inverse relationship to the index of the S&P 500. So I find this funny that we've held on to this 20 level, 19 to 20 level for a whole year, but yet recently we broke below it. And this is really interesting. So as we get to a lower volatility, this means there's less kind of shocks in pricing. And what that means is typically you may grind higher on the indexes. So there is a chance that with everything reopening, with travel happening, with people working and more people hiring, then you could start seeing the VIX go lower, maybe more back to its normal areas where we used to be in the teens and about like $7 or so. So we were usually about around the teens and then below 10 as the normal level for a few years. So keep that in mind. That is something that is worth watching, and I'm interested. I'm definitely, because of this reason, I'm definitely more bullish than I have been the past few months. So in general, I'm willing to take a little bit more risk than I normally would. But as always, you definitely want to keep your risk in check. And also, for a little bit more context on where I'm at in regards to my strategy for income, for Tesla, for Palantir, you are going to want to see this video here. And then the other one, I just submitted a dumb money application. It's